Today, when I woke up, I saw the strangest thing. I saw something that I never thought that I would see. Something I actually thought was impossible, that even the mighty hand of God could not make happen. I saw Zamazenta trending on Twitter, which is a bit weird because Sword and Shield aren't exactly the newest games, and Zamazenta wasn't exactly the most impressive legendary. Clearly, everyone was a big fan of Knife Dog, but Zamazenta was always put down by the wayside. Until I saw Wolfie tweet this out, which is the list of restricted Pokemon in Stockholm, which is, I believe, a regionals for Europe, that showed the usage stats for all of the restricted Pokemon, which are, as we all know, or maybe you don't know, the best ones, the legendaries, the big boys. You can have one per team, and it needs to be good, because your restricted is probably going to be stronger than everybody else's regular Pokemon. It's going to be stronger than your regular Pokemon. Oh boy, here comes the Then We Fight YouTubers to talk about competitive Pokemon again. Can't wait to hear what he's got to say. But I replied and said the Zacian Zamazenta switch up will be studied for centuries. And I guess I wasn't exactly wrong, because Freezeye uploaded a video about this very subject just a few hours after I tweeted that. And since Freezeye has much better of a head when it comes to competitive Pokemon, whereas I just add leftovers to regenerate your Pokemon and call it a day, I'm not exactly the peak of competitive analysis when I'm picking Pokemon by their lowest base stat total now, am I? Let's hear from someone that knows much more than I do.
Zamazenta used to be laughed at. In Generation 8, it was a pathetic legendary used by no one and widely considered to be the worst legendary we've had in a long time.
Oh my god. Wow, Jesus, we are really, oh my god, that was, I didn't expect we were going to dive into the deep end of insulting Zamazenta like that. There's just memes on the screen just destroying him. This is a little bit unfair. I don't feel like Zamazenta is necessarily deserving of this kind of backlash. I think it's quite a good dog. I think that all dogs are good. It's more like a wolf, but I mean, wolves are just big dogs, really.
It could won, but Zamazenta was let to rot away in irrelevancy. But the table...
Yes, but I mean, it has such a cool design, though, at the very least, right?
Tables have turned. Now look at it. It won the entire tournament, the Stockholm Regionals, and it was the #1 legendary to make it to day 2.
25% is ridiculous. And oh my god, poor Kyogre, poor Groudon, poor Zacian. I find it really funny that Kyogre and Groudon are on the same percentage as each other. It's like, no matter what happens, these guys are always going to be at each other's throats. They are always and ever will be equally matched. But then Zacian is by the wayside. This is the greatest switch up maybe of all time. 25% of people are using Zamazenta. I understand Miraidon because we watched the video on Miraidon that Freezeye made, which is also very good and you should definitely check out. Freezeye's link is always in the description, as is every single original creator of the videos that we react to. But I do get why Calyrex is here. It's ridiculously powerful. I kind of get why Terapagos is here. Koraidon's pretty sick too, but it kind of gets a little bit owned by physical attack or intimidate users, which is why it has to use the clear amulet a lot, right? I imagine. But Zamazenta is buying away, destroying everyone else in the usage. It's crazy.
Zamazenta is genuinely good. Meanwhile, Zacian is middle of the road.
Which is crazy because it turns into a Steel Fairy type, which is one of the best typings in the game. It has an attack buff immediately, although I guess that becomes an issue when it comes to intimidate users. I think you have to hold the item, so that maybe becomes an issue. And with Zamazenta, you don't really have to worry about intimidate because body press is stab and it goes off with the defense. Maybe that's what makes it so good. And it's incredibly bulky at the same time. Oh, is that what makes it so good? Or we're gonna find out.
We'll talk about why Zacian struggles later, but let's first talk about why Zamazenta is now good. Right now, you can only use one restricted legendary per team. As such, picking the right legendary is incredibly important, which makes Zamazenta's high usage rate even more impressive.
Incineroar is crying when it sees Zamazenta. It's like, a physical attacker, but it can't freaking weaken it. Come on. Freaking heck, man. It's a dog. Why do they have to bring a dog? That's so cringe, dude.
The most fundamental reason why Zamazenta is now good is because it got a new move in Generation 9, Body Press.
Oh, I did not realize it just got that now. I thought it had that the whole time. It just got body press. Oh, that's ludicrous. That's ridiculous. Well, okay, to be fair, its defense can't be like ridiculously good. I know it's the shield Pokemon, but it can't be that good. Like the original form is here. Crown form is like, oh, 140? 140 special defense as well. 128 speeds. All right, no, I take it back.
Move that uses your defense stat to do damage. That is awfully convenient for Zamazenta, a Pokemon who gains a defense boost the first time it switches in and whose whole build is designed around being a defensive powerhouse.
They get a defense boost when they switch in too. I can't believe I forgot that. Incineroar is pissing and crying when it sees Zamazenta.
That one move is completely game-changing for a number of reasons. One is that you immediately have a really strong, no drawback attacking move. In the past, you would have had to run maybe close combat, which is counterintuitive with the whole idea of being a defensive monster.
Oh my god, it just killed it in one hit. That is
You
ludicrous.
can also boost the power of Body Press with Iron Defense to become even stronger.
And the defense boost also makes you much harder to kill. I guess Fluttermane is running rampant against Zamazenta. Unless Zamazenta has an answer for
Boosting
Fluttermane.
wasn't a real idea in the past because Zamazenta didn't get Swords Dance. It even creates perhaps an even more interesting dynamic because when you Iron Defense, you improve your offense and defense at the same time, something that ordinary Pokemon can't do.
Oh my god, it's like using Amnesia in Generation 1 when special was just one
Iron
stat.
Defense is actually the second most common idea for Zamazenta, not the first, and we'll talk about why that is a little later. But
And it has 128 speed. This is ludicrous. It's so fast. It outpaces almost every single Pokemon that exists, except for Miraidon that's just laughing in the corner.
number two, and perhaps most importantly, it makes Zamazenta effectively immune to Intimidate. Intimidate is the best ability in double battles, and that's part of the reason why Incineroar is almost on every single team.
Wait a minute. Was that Zamazenta running?
Body
Hold
Press
on a
relies
second.
on
No. Was that Zamazenta running Terra Ghost so that specifically it could avoid being body pressed by the other Zamazenta? I think it were. It is. It's running Terra Ghost. And you know what? That's actually a really good idea. I wonder if people are just like, oh, just run Ghost types, idiot. Just run Ghost types forehead. But then you see Calyrex Shadow Rider and you're like, oh, never mind. Actually, Calyrex Shadow Rider should be good into Zamazenta, right?
Incineroar is almost on every single team.
But then Calyrex Shadow Rider sees Incineroar and pisses and
Body
cries.
Press relies on your defense stat, not your attack stat, so Intimidate lowering attack doesn't really matter. You threaten an immediate one-hit KO on that Incineroar. That's incredible value. The most common Pokemon doesn't slow you down at all. Zamazenta really has a lot of the fundamentals. It's fast, it has the coveted Steel typing, and is generally good statistically.
It seems that people don't really run Steel-type moves unless I'm wrong.
The
I need to see
Achilles
some of these
heel had
movesets.
always been that it's incredibly weak, and Body Press single-handedly fixes that. On top of that, Zamazenta has a lot of attributes that make it match up really well into the current metagame. One is that it has Wide Guard to make the team immune to spread attacks.
Okay, I mean, that's always useful,
Most
right?
of the other top legendaries right now rely on spread attacks.
You got Fluttermane with Dazzling Gleam, you got Discharge from a Rhydon, you've got Calyrex Shadow Rider that uses its move that hits both of the opponents, I believe. Calyrex Glacial Rider also has the stab ice thing that where he's stab both of them and then impales them. You know the move.
Calyrex Shadow has Astral Barrage, Calyrex Ice has Glacial Lance,
See the stab one.
Kyogre has Water Spout, Groudon has Precipitous Blades, and when it terrestrializes, Terapagos has Terra Starstorm. Basically everything relevant except Miraidon and Koraidon.
Well, I mean, Miraidon still does use Discharge though, right? And not all the time, but it has it at its disposal. I guess you could choice specs yourself into Discharge and you can use Wide Guard as a way to counter that. But then you probably wouldn't do that if you saw Zamazenta because that would be silly, wouldn't it? You wouldn't just throw away the game like that, would you? Would you make a misplay like that? Have you been making misplays recently?
Able to blank the opposing restricted legendary's strongest move is fantastic, and Wide Guard is the most common idea with Zamazenta's Body Press. Zamazenta uses Body Press, Heavy Slam.
Oh, Heavy Slam. That is the counter to Fluttermane, considering Fluttermane probably weighs like nothing at all. Nothing at all. Nothing
Protect,
at all.
and one of those two moves, either Iron Defense or Wide Guard. The Terra is often Terra Grass for Amoonguss's Spore and Rage Powder, while also giving you some fight back versus Miraidon.
Oh, so Terra Grass makes you immune to Rage Powder too. I actually did not know that. God, I really like watching competitive Pokemon like this, and I love watching the videos describing how things work. It just seems so interesting to me because it feels like it's in another plane of existence compared to like the challenge runs you do on the video games. I'm over here playing Pokerogue, trying to do a Nuzlocke on Pokerogue, and then I see this, it's like a whole different ball game. It's like this 7 different video games shoved into one video game, which I guess is good value for money.
Zamazenta's Steel fighting type also gives it a natural advantage to Calyrex Ice and Terapagos, 2 of the top 3 legendaries. If Terrapago stays an unterrestrialized normal type, it doesn't do a lot of damage into Zamazenta's steel type. But if it goes Terra Stellar, its main attack becomes a spread move which is shut down by Zamazenta's Wide Guard.
Nice counter.
Adding on to that, shutting down Calyrex Ice is big because that's considered to be the #1 legendary at the moment. Now
Well, I guess not anymore.
all of that good enough to justify using your legendary slot? Does it meet the criteria of being truly dominant? And the answer is yes, it does.
I mean, it is so defensively good, though. It just tanks hits. It gets a defense buff. It's got 140 base defense.
Fundamentally, you have a Pokemon that is tough to take down and can launch great amounts of damage into the opponent without needing to set up.
Look at that. It just tanked that Drain Punch like it was now.
Zamazenta controls the flow of the game by mastering offense and defense. The main problem with Zamazenta are Ghost-type Pokemon, namely Calyrex Shadow and Fluttermane.
But I mean, hey, Fluttermane just gets absolutely squished by a Heavy Slam. Calyrex Shadow Rider could still be definitely an issue, though.
The two most popular Ghost-type Pokemon. Zamazenta does have Stab Heavy Slam, but that move is affected by Intimidate. It happens that because of Stab Heavy Slam, Zamazenta does have decent coverage to hit the meta-relevant Ghost-type Pokemon, but it's undoubtedly a fundamental flaw. Zamazenta's key idea does get neutralized by Ghost-type Pokemon, and that can be exploited.
All right, everyone, time to run Golurk. Time to run. Is there a Ghost Steel type? All right, everyone, time to run Aegislash. There we go. Yeah, you like that? That's a good idea, huh?
For example, we saw Marco
Wait, Aegislash isn't in the game, is it? That's really sad.
Silva, a top player who made top 4 at this
Golden Go. That's a way better idea, actually. Golden Go. Yeah, I forgot Golden Go exists. Sorry.
event, use the more uncommon Golden Go on his Calyrex Ice team. More commonly, a lot of Pokemon incidentally use Terra Ghost to stop Fake Out, and that can always disturb Zamazenta. Ghost is a pretty effective neutral Terra type. But all of this
Yeah, it only has 2 weaknesses. That's
can
true.
be mitigated. Dark types are basically guaranteed to be on your team because you need them for Calyrex Shadow anyway. They synergize well with Zamazenta because they target Ghost-type Pokemon who might want to stop Body Press. For example, the most common core is Chien-Pao and Zamazenta. Chien-Pao immediately threatens every Ghost-type with its powerful Dark-type moves while also giving Zamazenta a power boost with its Swords of Ruin ability. On top of that,
Oh, that is a good combo, too. I like how those two Zamazenta just staring each other down. One of them shiny. I don't even remember how you get shiny Zamazenta.
it gives
I don't think I ever
a
got one.
great matchup into Amoonguss, the only relevant Poison-type Pokemon. Fighting struggles with Ghost, Poison, Flying, Psychic, and Fairy.
Oh, of which Chien-Pao just absolutely destroys most of, with the exception of Fairy.
Chien-Pao and Heavy Slam solve those weaknesses. You could even argue that Chien-Pao is another reason why Zamazenta is good. There wasn't a Pokemon like that helped fighting types that much before. We can take a look at the team Michael Kelch used to win Stockholm, with the team's first appearance being at the last tournament where Keanu used it to get top 8.
All right, so we had Body Press, we had Heavy Slam, we had, a Galarian Moltres here. That's interesting. Fiery Wrath, Foul Play, Protect, no Fire-type moves. I mean, it's not really a Fire-type to begin with. Has Berserk. I totally forgot that this thing had Berserk. And we had Drizzle, so we had a little bit of rain going on too. I wonder what the Pelipper was doing on this team. Was it just to reduce the power of Fire-type moves against Rillaboom and Zamazenta and Chien-Pao? Actually, it does make sense. Reduce the power of Fire-type moves. You can protect your Zamazenta. You can protect your Chien-Pao. You can protect your Rillaboom a little bit more. Rillaboom does crazy damage on priority with Stab, Grassy Glide. It gets its health back. Zamazenta gets its health back. It can also Terra Grass, so it can avoid Spore and all that nonsense that we don't care about. We don't like that. Does Terra Grass give it any defensive buffs, really? I mean, it's not going to be hit with... I guess if you're going to Terra Grass, you want the Pelipper with Drizzle so you don't get hit with Fire-type moves. I don't know if Flying Stab is super used or Flying-type moves are super used right now. But then you have Poison. I don't know, Poison is super common either. I mean, Ice is always there. Grass does have a lot of weaknesses, though.
It has the core of Chien-Pao, Zamazenta, and Choice-Banded Rillaboom. It forms a little offensive triangle. 3 Pokemon who all benefit from Swords of Ruin and Rillaboom's Grassy Glide being able to remove Ghost-type Pokemon. On top of that, grassy terrain is incredible for Zamazenta, increasing its longevity even further.
Yeah, you get a little bit of recovery back. Who needs a leftovers, am I right, guys?
Then there's a Terra Dark Black Glasses Moltres Galar. Moltres not only gives Zamazenta Tailwind support, but it also puts an incredible amount of pressure on Ghost-type Pokemon.
It's crazy the idea that a 128 base speed Pokemon needs Tailwind support. Like, it's not fast enough, of course, no. Time was, I remember my day, 100 speed was considered respectable and useful. Now 120, it's just not enough. How greedy can we get?
How are you going to stop a body press when there's a Moltres Galar or Qian Pao ready to attack into you? How are you going to use a fairy type when Heavy Slam smashes you? Zamazenta holds the fort and creates a lot of pressure because your opponent can't output enough damage to beat you before you beat them. We've even seen other builds too that pair Zamazenta with, say, Ting Lu. Ting Lu gives you the Dark type to match up into Ghost type Pokemon, while also lowering special attack to help Zamazenta's relatively lower special defense. There are even speculations that Zamazenta becomes even better in a 2 legendary format, which is a popular format we've seen in the past. Imagine—
Oh god, no, are they gonna do a 2 legendary format? Every single regular Pokemon is going to die a horrible, painful death and turned into dust. They're going to be crumpled into a little cardboard piece of paper and then put into a hydraulic press.
Calyrex Shadow paired with Zamazenta body pressing the normal and dark type Pokemon that would try and stop Calyrex's Astral Barrage. But of course, that's for the future. Meanwhile,
oh my god, that would be ridiculous. That would be an insane combo, wouldn't it?
the hit to Zacian has been absolutely brutal.
Oh yeah, let's learn about dog time. Okay, what's happened to you, little pup? Where have you been?
Zamazenta and Zacian both had their stats dropped entering Generation 9, but the number one reason they have drastically different outcomes is that Zacian is affected by Intimidate, which is a crippling weakness.
Yeah, and you can't really stop that either, can you? Because even if you run a Clear Amulet, I mean, you can't run a Clear Amulet because the item needs to be the buff for the Zacian to turn into the big form anyway. So as soon as you get your Intrepid Sword boost, it's immediately gone. It's, oops, all of the Intimidates. I'm sorry, did you want an attack buff? Well, too bad. Oh, I'm choking on air.
That becomes a major problem when you factor in opportunity cost. You only get one restricted legendary and you have to pick wisely. Every other physical legendary, Calyrex Ice, Koraidon, Groudon, can hold a clear amulet item to make them immune to stat drops.
Even with the Fairy Steel typing, it's still not good enough.
In fact, 97% of Calyrex Ice use Clear Amulet.
97%? Well, what's the other ones using? I guess Incineroar is still so valuable. Even though people are trying to hard counter it so much, running Zamazenta to just one-shot it, that it just bypasses the Intimidate. Everyone's running Clear Amulet, and Incineroar is still so good because Fake Out is just really good, and Intimidate is still really good, and it's pretty bulky, and it can do a decent amount of damage, and it's got some good stab. And
On the other hand,
crazy.
Zacian must hold the Rusted Sword. It's no longer the level playing field of Gen 8 where every Pokemon was equally affected by Intimidate. Every other legendary is immediately stronger than Zacian. This is compounded by the fact that Zamazenta and Zacian's abilities were nerfed to only work once per game, as opposed to every time they switched in, like in Generation 8.
Okay, but like you got +2 now, like you're super strong, right?
This is relevant for Zacian, who would have wanted to try and switch out and in to maneuver past Intimidate. Besides Intimidate, Zacian also liked to switch around anyway and leverage its good defensive typing to switch in and put the opponent into pins, which is a term used to describe an unstoppable attacking pair. On the other hand, that nerf isn't as important to Zamazenta because it doesn't really want to switch out.
Ooh, Terra Fairy. Interesting. I guess because of the... Well, I wonder why. Zacian just definitely runs Steel type moves, doesn't it?
Need to reset Intimidate. On top of that, Zacian's Behemoth Blade was great at keeping Dynamax Pokemon in check, but obviously that niche doesn't exist anymore. Ironically, Zacian now struggles from the same problem that Zamazenta had before. It's too weak.
That's crazy. Zacian is now too weak, which just ridiculous things to hear. This guy's got 150 base attack and 148 base speed, and he's still got good defenses. I mean, he did used to have, what did he used to have? 170? This is ridiculous. This is stupid. What were they thinking with this? 170 base attack. And you get an attack buff when you switch in and your Fairy Steel type. Game Freak, what in God's name was going through your head? What were you thinking? You stupid morons. Look at this. Ridiculous. What were you smoking? What were you taking? Did you inject it instead? What was happening?
The main way we're seeing Zacian used right now is with a Swords Dance moveset. You try to set up a Swords Dance to mitigate Intimidate while also pairing it with standard options that help it out, like Fake Out Incineroar and Rage Powder Pollen Puff Amoonguss. The idea has seen some success, but nothing major. Other legendaries have spread moves, and the legendaries that don't still offer something good. Koraidon has Sun to enable friends like Fluttermane. Zamazenta is both offensive and defensive.
Wait, Calyrex goes first? No. Does Calyrex have
The
150
Rhydon is
base
the Rhydon.
speed?
And what does Zacian have? Swords Dance and an amazing type is cool, but is it truly dominant enough to justify using over other legendary Pokemon?
I was gonna say, that's got a one-shot, right?
Consensus is that no, it's not enough. That's how the tables have turned, and Zamazenta is now one of the top legendary Pokemon in the format. If you want to see more of this type of
Wait, does the Raging Bolt kill the...
It's free and helps me out a lot. See you guys next time.
Wait, I just want to see if the Raging Bolt was going to kill the Zamazenta. No, I wanted to see if the Raging Bolt was going to kill it. Wait, what was this? Swiss round 3? How am I'm not going to be able to find this match. Just kidding. I found it. I found the match on the stream. I just want to know if the Raging Bolt was going to kill the Zacian. That's all I wanted to know. That's all I wanted to hear.
And taking the right opportunity now to go for a parting
shot. Okay, so we go for the parting shot.
Attack power on that Raging Bolt, and then give him the ability to reposition something next to the Zacian to carry on this momentum swing.
Yeah, because Javier...
Okay, so we got Amoonguss.
In between two minds there of protecting the Calyrex, which could have been a well-placed defensive play there.
Electro is that gonna... No! Is it lower speed? It does.
Adaptation from Guillermo, but we do...
Wait, does he win?
And the Incineroar coming back on is nice. We've talked about the use of that Intimidate.
I have to know what happens here now. I'm sorry.
Out of control. Is back down to neutral attack now, but still a big threat. It has access to moves that are going to really threaten that Raging Bolt. But with that speed drop, it is going to be a little bit of a problem.
I mean, it's still strong, right?
On a Raging Bolt because it's still likely going to outspeed those. But the big problem now is the Amoonguss. It is threatened by the Incineroar, of course, on the opposite side of the field. You do have to worry about Faker, but it gives Guillermo a perfect opportunity to maybe switch out that Zacian.
All right, we got to go faster. Protect.
Just protected for one turn.
Yeah, it doesn't really look like the look of that Incineroar on the other side of the field. Fake Out did actually...
Oh, okay. We got the Protect coming through.
Onto the Raging Bolt, lowering that special attack stat. So the Amoonguss...
He swats out the Amoonguss. I just want to see the Zacian get killed.
It is now
another one.
That regenerator ability, get a bit of health back, and now allow Guillermo...
Yeah. Oh, he's getting kills.
Picking up a big knockout.
Very big knockout.
Okay, this is good. Flare Blitz? Oh, there it goes. Okay. I mean, the Zacian got 2 kills, though. That's pretty respectable. Good job. Good dog. That's a very good dog. That's a very good dog right there. He ended up getting 2 kills. I wonder who ended up winning. Oh, it was the Zamazenta that ended up winning. All right, but you know what? I still think that was a great video. Please do go check out Freeze Eye. His link will be in the description. If you want to see more of my dumb face, you can always subscribe here as well.